Welcome to page 20 of your linear packet. On this page, given a table of values, I can find the slope. But also, you should be able to not only find the slope given a table of values, but you should also be able to find the slope when given an equation and given a graph. We'll also take a close look at finding the y-intercept as well, or the b-value. Remember, we refer to slope using the letter m, and we refer to the y-intercept using the letter b. Let's take a closer look at letter A. Let's start with an equation. We know the standard form for any non-proportional linear equation takes the form of mx plus b equals y. Or I suppose we could turn that around and say y equals mx plus b. We know that slope is represented by the coefficient that sits in front of the x. It's your m value. And in this case, the slope is 2. We can write m equals 2. But we can also take that slope and write it as a ratio, 2/1. That means rise up 2, that's your delta y, and run over 1, that's your delta x, your change in x. Your y-intercept is the b value, and in this case is a positive 3. So we know our y-intercept is positive 3. That's easy to identify those two things when given an equation. But how do we do that when we're given a graph? For the graph we've been given, we can identify the intercept and the slope. Please take down the following notes. Let's start with our b value, or our y-intercept. Right here at positive 3, our line that has been graphed is anchored or intersects the y-axis at positive 3. For our slope, we're going to figure that out by selecting 2 points on the graph. We select the point furthest to the left and then the next consecutive point. Once we have those 2 selected, we calculate our rise, which in this case, our rise or our delta y is positive 2, and our run, which is our delta x, is a positive 1. So we set up the ratio positive 2 over positive 1, which of course is 2 once we reduce. So the equation for this particular line that's been graphed, mx plus b equals y, is 2 times x plus an intercept of 3 equals y. And clearly, it's been labeled on the line. When it comes to the slope, you can confirm 2/1 and continue the pattern up 2/1, up 2/1, and see that the line consistently rises and runs at that rate. Finally, how do we do all of these calculations for a table of values? Well, it's actually easy. We are going to look at our delta y and our delta x, change in y, change in x, when it comes to the table. We are going to calculate our slope by setting up that ratio, delta y over delta x. And for our b, or our y-intercept, of course, we're looking for the point that intersects with the y-axis. Let's start with the slope. Please make sure you're taking down all these notes on your paper. When it comes to the slope, we see that our change in y is plus 2. Again, a gain of 2. And from 7 to 9, a gain of 2. When it comes to our run value, or our delta x, we have a gain of 1, a gain of 1 again, and a gain of 1. Let's put our delta y over our delta x. It's a consistent rate of 2 over 1, which of course gives us 2. As far as our intercept goes, we can find it right here at 0, 3. The point 0, 3 represents the y-intercept, so our value is 3. When we write the equation for this particular line represented by the table, it is a slope of 2 times every x plus an intercept of 3 equals y. Now let's look and see what's given to us in letter B. In this particular case, we're given again an equation, a table of values, and a graph. Let's quickly look at the equation. We see that the slope is a negative 2. So our slope is negative 2, which would be negative 2 over 1 as a ratio. Down 2 to the right 1. And our b value, well, that is found here. It is a positive 1. When it comes to the graph, we see a downward sloping line. So we know that the slope is, of course, negative. But what is the actual slope? Well, select the point furthest to the left that lives on the line, and then the next consecutive point. We go down 2, that's our fall, or down negative 2, that's represented by our delta y, and over positive 1. That's, of course, our delta x. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. So the slope is negative 2 over 1, which of course is negative 2. And when it comes to our y-intercept, please make sure you're recording these notes, we can see our red line intersects the y-axis at positive 1. So our b value is positive 1. The equation for this line, negative 2x plus 1 equals y. And you can see that it's written right here. But how does it work for a table? We know we would like to write an equation to represent the values given in the table, the relationship given in the table. So we're going to examine our change in y, delta y, and our change in x. Let's calculate the slope first. If you go from a 1 to a negative 1, it is a loss of 2. From negative 1 to negative 3, that's a loss of 2. And from negative 3 to negative 5, again, a loss of 2. For delta x, it's an increase of 1 from 0 to 1, again an increase of 1, and again an increase of 1. So our slope is negative 2 over 1, which of course is negative 2. As far as our intercept, well, that's right here at 0, 1. So if I have to write an equation for the table, it's negative 2x plus 1 equals y. Take a moment and record these notes. Make sure you understand how the equation works, how the graph works, and most importantly, how to write an equation for a table of values. This concludes this page.